Let me tell you a story, not the fairy tale kind, and certainly not the kind you'd find on a Hallmark card. No, this one starts with a ringing phone, a perfectly folded towel, and a woman humming in the kitchen like she didn't just destroy my life with a smile. Her name was Elise. Smart, beautiful, the kind of woman who could command a room with a glance and make a grown man forget his own name with a laugh. And I was the man dumb enough to think I'd won the lottery when she said, "I do." Now, I've always considered myself a pretty observant guy. I'm the guy who notices when the thermostat's been nudged by half a degree, when the neighbor's lawn is an inch too long, and when my wife, my then wife, starts wearing perfume that I didn't buy and never once smelled on our date nights. But the real beginning? That was the towel. It was a Tuesday, because of course it was, a day designed by the universe to be painfully average. I came home from work, briefcase in hand, tie still a little too tight, and there it was, a towel folded on the bathroom counter. Not hanging on the rack where it belonged. Folded. In thirds. Now, Elise never folded towels in thirds. That was my thing. Obsessive, sure, but there's a method to it. Keeps the edges neat. Makes the cabinet look like a catalog spread. So I stood there, staring at this perfectly folded towel like it was a crime scene. And I knew that something was off. Elise. I called out. She was in the kitchen, humming some jazz tune she only listened to when she was guilty. "Hey, babe," she said, cheerful. Too cheerful. "How was your day?" "Fine," I said slowly. "Did someone come by today?" She didn't even turn around. "Nope." Lie number one. I filed it away. That night, while she scrolled through Instagram on the couch, laughing at something I wasn't invited to see, I opened her laptop. I wasn't snooping. Let's just say I was gathering data. The browser history was clean. Too clean. Nobody actually clears their browser history unless they're either buying a surprise gift or cheating. And Elise hadn't bought me a surprise since 2020. Then I saw the name, Greg. Just a few calendar entries. A coffee date here. A meeting there. Always tagged work. But Elise worked in finance, not private investigation. And Greg? Greg wasn't the name of any coworker I'd ever heard of. So I asked her, "Who's Greg?" She looked up, blinked twice, and smiled. "Oh, Greg. Yeah, he's just this consultant we brought in for a project. Super boring guy." That's when I knew she was lying. Because Elise didn't bother commenting on boring people. If she took the time to call someone boring, they were usually interesting in all the wrong ways. "Consultant, huh?" I said. "Yup," she said, not even looking up from her phone. "Honestly, you'd hate him." Maybe, but at least I wasn't sleeping with him. The next few weeks were like watching the Titanic sink in slow motion. The late meetings, the new lingerie, the sudden interest in yoga, which she never practiced, but sure talked about a lot. Then came the mistake. Hers, not mine. She left her phone on the table, went to the bathroom, and the name Greg popped up with a heart emoji. Call me nosy, but if Greg's texting my wife with hearts, we're past boring coworker and into somebody's getting folded like laundry territory. I opened the message. Just one line. "I still taste you." I closed the phone, took a deep breath, poured myself a drink, and smiled. Not because I was okay, but because Elise thought she was playing chess, and I was just a pawn. Thing is, I built the board. You ever watch someone dig their own grave and think, should I hand them a better shovel? That's what it felt like, watching Elise go through her daily routine after I read that message from Greg. Same coffee order, same peck on the cheek, same smug little smirk she wore like lipstick. Except now I saw it for what it really was, the smirk of someone who thinks they're winning. So I did what any man with a pulse and a plan would do. I smiled back. "Have a good day, babe," I said that morning, handing her a to-go cup I'd filled with her favorite overpriced hazelnut blend. "Thanks, babe," she replied, grabbing her keys. I watched her drive away in the car I paid for, to a job I'd helped her get, wearing a blouse I bought, to go see a man she swore I'd hate. She was right about one thing. I hated Greg already, and I hadn't even met him yet. Now, I'm not a violent man. Never have been. But I'm a strategist. I'm the guy who reads the fine print. The guy who keeps receipts. Literal and emotional. So I started collecting. Phone records. GPS logs. Hotel confirmations that mysteriously appeared on our shared credit card account under Wellness Suite Getaway. Cute name. Shame about the betrayal. But the real jackpot came from an app she forgot I helped set up, Family Tracker. We used it years ago when her sister got mugged, remember? Safety first, she said. She just never disabled it. Tuesday afternoon, 1:12 p.m., Elise's little blue dot parked for exactly 2 hours and 48 minutes at the Elysian Riverfront Hotel. I don't know what kind of wellness they were doing, but I doubt it involved hot stones and seaweed wraps. So I did something that made my hands sweat. I booked a room there too. Different floor. Different day. I figured if Elise wanted to turn our marriage into a vacation package, I'd play the part of the concierge. All smiles. All access. Thursday. I wore a hoodie, kept my head down, sat in the hotel lounge nursing a drink that tasted like melted pine needles. I waited. And sure enough, 1:09 p.m., there she was. Elise. In a black trench coat, hair pulled up, red lipstick she hadn't worn in months. She walked with purpose. A woman who'd practiced this. Greg followed, tall, gym fit, khaki slacks. The kind of guy who looks like he has a LinkedIn account for his biceps. They didn't see me. That was the goal. I didn't follow. I didn't need to. Because the front desk manager already liked me. Let's just say a well-placed tip and a believable story about planning a surprise vow renewal can go a long way. Turns out, Greg used a corporate discount, which meant I had a full name now, a company, an address. Checkmate was coming. That night, Elise came home smelling like hotel shampoo and excuses. "You're quiet," she said, unzipping her boots. "Just tired," I replied. "You okay?" I looked up from my laptop, smiled the kind of smile that should have warned her. Never better. She bought it. Because Elise believed her own lies more than she believed in me. But that was fine. I wasn't after her trust anymore. I was after the truth, and I almost had it all. Almost. Because the real surprise came 3 days later, when I received a package addressed to Elise. Delivered to our house. But the name on the return label? Gregory Delmont. And inside, a necklace. Engraved. "Yours. Always." Gee. She hadn't opened it yet. I stared at that box like it was the last puzzle piece in a game she didn't know she was losing. I put it back exactly where I found it. Untouched. Because sometimes revenge doesn't come with shouting or slamming doors. Sometimes it walks in quietly, wearing your name. I didn't confront her. Not yet. You don't throw a punch when the crowd's looking. You wait. You time it. You make sure the silence is loud enough for them to hear the echo when it lands. So for the next few days, I played husband. I kissed her forehead in the morning. I sent her little thinking of you texts. I even asked if she wanted to plan a weekend getaway. Just us. I said, with that practice smile. "Oh, babe," she cooed. "That's exactly what we need." You know what we really needed? A court stenographer. Because the way she was lying should have been documented for legal study. She had no idea that I had already called Greg's office and posed as an event coordinator for a fake corporate retreat. The woman at the front desk was lovely. Gave me all the details. Greg wasn't just her consultant. He was her client. And Greg was married. With kids. You can imagine how much that little revelation pleased me. The smug homewrecker riding around town in his leased Audi with a wife and toddlers at home? Now that was poetic. And Elise? Well, she wasn't just wrecking our home. She was now someone's side dish. That's when I knew my move had to be bigger, bolder, untraceable. I called my lawyer the next morning. Her name's Tanya. Sharp as a tack and twice as dangerous. She was the kind of woman who could ruin a man's life with a comma. I liked her immediately. Is it infidelity if I don't have photos, but I've got hotel confirmations and a necklace from a man who isn't me? I asked. Technically, no, she said. But morally? Oh, she's toast. Tell me more. So I did. I laid out the receipts, the call logs, the necklace, even the family tracker app. She listened in silence, then said, "You're sitting on a gold mine. We build the narrative right. She won't walk away with a dime more than she brought in." And Elise? She brought in yoga pants, throw pillows, and a mild gluten intolerance. That's it. Tanya drafted a plan that was so smooth, it felt like jazz. A no-fault divorce? Sure. But we'd file second. Let Elise think everything's fine. Let her file first, because we'd already planted evidence to trigger the suspicion. Let her believe she was playing chess, while I was already setting the board for checkmate. That weekend, I asked if she wanted to go out for dinner. "You choose," I said. She lit up like it was Christmas morning. "Let's go somewhere fancy. I want to wear that blue dress you like." She meant the one she once wore to Greg's office party. The one she said was too classy for dinner with you. Funny how betrayal looks different when you're squinting at it from the other side of the lie. We went out, laughed, had wine. To the waiter, we probably looked like a couple still in love. But me? I was just rehearsing for the day I'd testify that I tried everything to save the marriage. Even date night. When we got home, she curled up next to me on the couch, wore my hoodie, fell asleep on my shoulder. And all I could think was, I hope you're comfortable. You won't be for long. Because while she dreamed about a man named Greg, I was writing the final act. And the ending? Let's just say, nobody's ready for it. You ever watch a magician perform a trick so slowly you start to see the wires, the sleight of hand, the smirk just before the reveal? That's what my marriage had become, a poorly rehearsed illusion. The sad part? Elise wasn't even trying to hide the wires anymore. The trick was for her, not me. And she was the one applauding herself after every act. But me? I wasn't in the audience. I was backstage, rigging the lights to fall. The necklace from Greg stayed untouched. Still in the Amazon box, still hidden in her office drawer like some dirty little secret waiting to sparkle. And the best part? I didn't mention it. Not once. I let her think she was safe. Let her believe I was too soft, too distracted, too comfortable to notice. But inside, I was all steel and blueprints. At this point, I had everything I needed. A lawyer with teeth. A file thicker than our wedding album. And a plan. God, did I have a plan. Now it was time to build the audience. See, Elise cared about appearances. She didn't love me. She loved the version of us we posted online. The vacations. The champagne anniversaries. The house with the wraparound porch and the stupid rustic sign above the fireplace that said, "Together is our favorite place to be." Barf. So I gave her what she wanted, one last performance. It started with a dinner party. Just a small one, I told her. Friends. Family. Nothing big. Just to reconnect. Maybe reset. Her eyes lit up. Oh my God, babe. That's actually a really good idea. She kissed me, like she meant it. Almost made me laugh. If I didn't know better, I might have kissed her back. We set the date for a Saturday night. 2 weeks out. That gave me just enough time to prepare the guest list. I called her parents first. Now, let me tell you something about Elise's parents. They're the kind of couple who wear matching windbreakers and brag about their cholesterol levels. Old school to the bone. They think cheating is a moral failing and that therapy is something you keep behind a locked drawer next to the cough syrup. They adored me. Always did. Elise is lucky to have a man like you. Her father once told me after I installed their new water heater. Most guys can't even fix a leaky faucet. Oh, I can fix a faucet, Henry. But this time, I was here to flood the whole house. The day of the dinner, I woke up calm. Not fake calm, real calm. The kind of calm that comes when the final domino is standing and your finger is already hovering over it. Elise was in full hostess mode. Candles, cheese board, a playlist she called Classy Vibes Only. She wore the blue dress again, the one I'd quietly started to associate with betrayal. She twirled in front of the hallway mirror like she was auditioning to be someone's new favorite lie. "Do I look okay?" she asked. "You look perfect," I said. And I meant it. Not because she did, but because tonight, I needed her to. Guests arrived. Drinks flowed. Her parents. Our friends. Some of her coworkers. Even Greg's name came up in casual conversation, but I didn't flinch. "Oh, Greg," she said lightly. "He's so intense. Always about the quarterly reports." She rolled her eyes. I smiled. "I'm sure he's got deep investments." She didn't catch it, but her dad gave me a curious look. He always did like wordplay. When dinner hit the table, the mood was perfect. Warm, buzzed, comfortable. People toasted to our marriage, to weathering storms, to finding each other again. And Elise? She beamed. She glowed. She had no idea she was standing on a trapdoor. Dessert came out, tiramisu. Her favorite. I stood up, wine glass in hand. "Before we dig in," I said, "I just want to say something." She gave me that look. The soft, proud, "this is my husband" look. The one she practiced at bridal showers and barbecues. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately," I began. "About love. About trust." The table quieted, and I realized something important. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about knowing when to let go. Elise tilted her head, confused, her fork halfway to her mouth. "Elise," I continued, "I know about Greg." Gasps. She dropped the fork. "What?" "You heard me." I pulled out the hotel receipts, the screenshots, the time-stamped calendar invites. And finally, the box. I opened it, revealed the necklace. Read the engraving out loud. "Yours. Always. Gee. Her face turned the color of unfinished porcelain. I. I don't. I held up a hand. Don't lie. Not tonight. Not in front of your parents. Not in front of these people who think we're some kind of love story. No one moved. The silence was a living thing. Heavy. Eyes wide. Forks frozen in midair. Elise, I'm filing for divorce on Monday. Tanya's already drawn up the paperwork. You'll find the copy in your email. I looked to her father. Henry, I loved your daughter. I really did. And I know how much you both believed in this marriage. But what she did, you needed to know. He didn't say a word, just lowered his head. Her mother looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Then I added the kicker. Oh, and before anyone accuses me of being dramatic, check the screen. I pointed to the TV. The security cam footage played. The hallway of the Elysian Hotel. Elise and Greg. Kissing. Handsy. Happy. The date and time blinking in the corner. No one ate the tiramisu. People began to shuffle out, avoiding eye contact. Her coworkers suddenly remembered early meetings. Her friends offered vague hugs that didn't mean anything. Her parents didn't say goodbye, just left. Elise stood in the kitchen, shaking. You planned this whole thing? Every second. You humiliated me. No, I said. You did that. I just provided the lighting. She lunged to say something else, maybe an apology, maybe a scream, but I walked right past her. Grabbed my overnight bag by the door. Already packed. Before I left, I looked back one more time. You thought I didn't know how to play the game, I said. But I built the board. And then I left. People always think the climax is the big moment. The yelling, the reveal, the gasps over tiramisu. But the truth is, the aftermath is where the real story lives. Because once the dust settles, the silence starts talking. And mine was saying you did it. And now what? I drove that night with the windows down, the wind doing its best to carry away whatever trace of Elise still clung to my clothes. Her voice, her perfume, her carefully rehearsed explanations. The hotel I checked into was nothing fancy. Beige walls, industrial carpet, a shower with inconsistent pressure, and a view of a parking lot. But the bed was clean. And more importantly, it was mine. No shared nightstands. No picture frames whispering lies. Just stillness. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, I didn't turn on my phone. Not because I couldn't handle the fallout, but because I wanted her to sit in it. That unfamiliar silence. The texts sent but not delivered. The calls that go straight to voicemail. I wanted her to experience what I'd lived with for the last year. The haunting feeling of being unseen. When I finally powered it on 48 hours later, the messages poured in like a broken dam. Elise, what did you do? Elise, we need to talk. Please. Elise, my parents aren't speaking to me. Elise, you ruined me. Oh, there it is. The main character syndrome. You ruined me. Not I made 1,000 selfish decisions and got caught. No, just me, the villain. The party pooper who dared to expose the plot twist. There were voicemails too. Some tearful, some angry, all meaningless. But one message stood out. It was from Greg. Greg Delmont, I don't know what your endgame was, but congratulations. My wife filed for divorce this morning. My kids won't talk to me. You burned everything down for what? A necklace? Buddy, you set the fire. I just opened the curtains. Turns out, Greg's wife had received an anonymous email the night of the dinner party. Subject line, something you should know. It included video footage, calendar screenshots, and a copy of the same necklace Elise received, courtesy of a little online sleuthing and some generous return policies. I never wrote a single word in that email. Just attached the facts. Let the truth do the talking. But even I wasn't ready for the next domino to fall. Elise's job. Apparently, Greg's wife was not just a suburban mom. She was also a quiet shareholder in the very firm Elise and Greg worked for. Small world. The HR department launched an investigation faster than I could order my next room service breakfast. Elise and Greg's working lunches had crossed more lines than a football field. She wasn't just fired. She was blacklisted. Now, don't get me wrong. This wasn't about destroying her life. I didn't torch her car or slash her tires or send a group email with bullet points and pie charts about her moral collapse. No, I just told the truth. Loudly. Publicly. With receipts. She did the damage. I just rolled out the projector and pressed play. A week later, Elise showed up at the hotel. She stood in the lobby wearing a hoodie too big for her and sunglasses that didn't belong to the weather. She looked smaller somehow. Dimmer. I saw her through the glass doors and didn't flinch. The front desk called up to my room. She says she's your wife? The receptionist whispered. She was, I replied. Tell her I'm not available. Would you like me to ask her to leave? No need, I said. She already knows how to walk away. Click. I spent the rest of the week tying off the loose ends of our life together. Bank accounts? Split. Utilities? Changed. The house. I let her keep it. Yeah, you read that right. Not out of pity. Not out of weakness. Out of strategy. Because that house was no longer a home. It was a crime scene dressed in Joanna Gaines decor. Let her wake up every day surrounded by the echoes of her own choices. Let the walls whisper. Then came the letter. Handwritten. 3 pages. No return address. Just her handwriting, which used to feel like home and now looked like a forged signature on a bad deal. She apologized. Kind of. Said she got lost. Said she missed who we used to be. Said, I still love you in my own way. In your own way. That part made me laugh. Because that's what this was all along, wasn't it? Elise's own way. Her rules. Her excuses. Her shortcuts. I folded the letter. Placed it in a file with the rest of the evidence. Then I locked it in a drawer. A keepsake. A warning. Here's the thing about revenge. It's not about rage. It's about clarity. It's not screaming in the rain or keying someone's car while sobbing to a Taylor Swift song. It's silence. Poise. Precision. It's holding the door open with one hand while flipping the switch with the other. And once it's done, you walk. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally whole. Last I heard, Greg moved to Arizona. Elise got a job as an independent consultant, which is just code for burned too many bridges. She tried texting me last month. Elise, can we at least have one honest conversation? I left it on read. Because we did. She just didn't know I was the only one telling the truth. Now, I'm not here to be a hero, or a victim, or a cautionary tale. I'm just a guy who paid attention. A guy who folded towels a certain way and noticed when something changed. A guy who listened quietly, then moved deliberately. And in the end, I didn't lose my wife. I dodged her. That it's funny what people say after something blows up in your life. You're better off. She didn't deserve you. Time heals all wounds. Everyone means well, but none of them sit in your silence. None of them drive past the places where your memories still live rent-free. They don't hear the echo when you open a drawer that used to be full of her clutter. And they sure as hell don't know what it's like to go to sleep in a bed that's finally yours again and realize how much space she used to take up for free. 2 months passed. Long enough for the vultures to stop circling. Short enough that her name still came up in conversation like a bitter aftertaste no one could swallow. I'd moved into a condo on the edge of town. Clean. Quiet. High ceilings and low expectations. There were no framed wedding photos to take down. No shared toothbrush cups. Just me, a couch, and the kind of freedom that creaks at night until you get used to it. I was rebuilding, but I wasn't rushing. You don't plant seeds in poisoned soil. You burn the field. Then you start over. Elise, meanwhile, had made exactly 3 attempts to claw her way back into relevance. Attempt 1, the handwritten letter, already filed under delusions and locked away. Attempt 2, a message from a mutual friend, Beth. Elise says she's been going to therapy. Wants to know if you'll meet for coffee. Tell her to meet with closure instead, I replied. Attempt 3, she sent me a photo. Yeah, a photo. Of the beach where we got engaged. No caption, just the image. A place that used to mean something. I stared at it for 5 seconds. Deleted it. Didn't reply. The beach wasn't ruined. She was. And I wasn't swimming back out to save someone who sank on purpose. But here's the part one didn't expect. I missed the dog. I don't even like small dogs. Never did. But we had this rescue mutt named Scout. 10 pounds of anxiety and misplaced confidence. Half Pomeranian, half attitude. He used to bark at squirrels like he owed them money. I'd left him with her during the split because I figured she needed the emotional support more than I did. But some nights, I'd hear his phantom footsteps around the apartment. Thought I'd see him curled on the blanket at the end of the bed. Just instinct. Then one day, I got a text from her sister. Marla, you should come get Scout. She's been leaving him at her friend's place for days. He's stressed. That's how I ended up on Elise's front porch again, for the last time. The porch light was still the same. So was the wreath I bought from a street vendor one fall afternoon when she said, let's make this house cozy. Back when I thought cozy meant safe. I didn't knock. Marla opened the door before I had the chance. He's in the laundry room, she whispered, eyes tight. She's not here. Took off to a spa retreat with some guy. Of course she did. I found Scout curled up on a blanket beside the dryer. Skinny. Shaky. Still wearing the collar I picked out. Hey, bud, I said, kneeling down. He looked up at me once and didn't move. Then I said his name again. That's when he leapt into my arms, like I'd been gone 5 minutes, not 2 months. I didn't cry, but I did sit there on that laundry room floor for a long time, holding 10 pounds of forgiveness. We left. No note. No confrontation. Just one final silent goodbye. And as I carried Scout to the car, I looked back at the house one last time. Funny thing, it looked smaller now, like the illusion had collapsed, and all that was left was drywall and poor taste. The same porch where we once slow danced under Christmas lights was now just a slab of concrete with a crack running through it. Fitting. The next day, I went off-grid. Blocked her number. Shut down the old shared email. Changed everything, from the router name to the freaking Apple ID. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was barefoot and walking. But I wasn't done. Not quite yet. Because I still had one more move to make. It started with a call to a former coworker of hers. Derek. Decent guy. Dry as toast, but reliable. I asked him one question. Does Greg know about the second guy? Long pause. Second guy? Bingo. I'd suspected for a while. Elise was never the one-and-done type. Greg was her main event, but there was always a backup singer. Someone less shiny. Safer. I thanked Derek, hung up, and emailed Tanya, my lawyer. We reopened negotiations. Because here's the thing. In our prenup, there was a clause. A very quiet, very intentional clause I'd slipped in back when Elise insisted she didn't need a prenup, but trusted me anyway. It stated, in the event of proven serial infidelity, the injured party reserves the right to claim exclusive ownership of any shared property not acquired prior to the marriage. That house, the cars, the vacation timeshares, all acquired after the vows. All mine. We filed quietly. No theatrics. No viral videos this time. Just legal paperwork, cold signatures, and a firm handshake from a judge who looked mildly impressed. 2 weeks later, Elise moved out of the house she fought so hard to keep. Guess where she went? Greg's place. Or what was Greg's place? He'd moved in with his brother after his divorce. Guess Elise forgot how short the couch was. Last I heard, she's living with a friend. Trying to reinvent herself. Selling digital art on Etsy. Preaching about boundaries and healing on Instagram. She posts quotes about self-love and spiritual awakening now. My personal favorite? Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself. Sweetheart, you didn't lose everything. You threw it away. And all I did was catch it before it hit the ground. As for me, I walk Scout every morning now. Same route. Same quiet. Sometimes a neighbor will wave, ask how I'm doing. I say, never better. Because it's true. I didn't just survive the fire. I walked out of it cleaner. That it's strange. The moment when the drama dies and you're left with something even more dangerous. Peace. Not the kind you brag about in Instagram captions, but the real, unsettling kind that arrives in silence. And you start to wonder, what now? No more court dates. No more Elise. No more Greg. Just quiet. That's when the weird part starts. You stop waking up angry. You stop replaying what she said, how she laughed at your pain, how she walked barefoot across your trust like it was a beach towel. And the more time passes, the more absurd it feels that someone so small once took up so much space that I was sitting in a cafe I'd never been to before. Just me and a book. Scout asleep under the table. Then I saw her. Elise. No makeup. Hair up. Wearing the expression of someone who got the life they thought they wanted, and now doesn't know what to do with it. She approached slowly. Like I was a lit stove she was considering touching again. Hey, she said. I looked at her. Just looked. No warmth. No hate. Just history. She stood there awkwardly, hands in her pockets. Then she said the one thing I didn't expect. I was wrong. A sentence that took her years to form. A sentence that used to live in the same zip code as her pride. I know I ruined everything, she added. I took a sip of coffee. Elise, I said calmly. What do you want from me? I don't know, she whispered. Then we're on the same page. She didn't cry. Elise doesn't cry. She fractures. When she walked away, I didn't watch her go. And that was the moment I knew I'd healed. Here's the funny part about rebuilding. Most people think it involves grand gestures. New jobs, new relationships, skydiving over Bali while journaling about forgiveness. Nah, I bought a new couch. A good one. I let Scout pick the spot he wanted. I joined a local community sailing group. No romance. No expectations. Just wind and water and a boat that only goes where you steer it. I visited friends I hadn't seen in years. Relearned how to listen without checking the time. I stopped folding towels in thirds. Not because I changed, but because I didn't have to prove anything anymore. And somewhere in the middle of that quiet new rhythm, I smiled for no reason. About 6 months later, I got a message from someone unexpected. Greg's ex-wife. Turns out she tracked me down, not out of spite or drama, but because she wanted to say two things. Thank you. You were right. Apparently, Elise didn't last long in Greg's world. She tried to play house, tried to spin her own redemption arc, but the cracks showed fast. Her true nature always does. Greg kicked her out after 2 months when he found out she was texting his coworker. Poetic. Greg's ex and I met for coffee, eventually. Just two people who'd survived the same storm and lived to compare notes. There was no spark, no hidden agenda, just mutual understanding. But before we left, she leaned in and said, "She's not capable of being what she pretends to be. You're not boring. You're the kind of man someone builds with." I thanked her, and I left that cafe a little lighter. Elise, wherever she is now, probably still believes the world did her wrong, that everyone left her, that love betrayed her. But me? I didn't leave. I chose myself. I chose peace. I chose dignity. And in the end, I didn't get revenge by destroying her. I got revenge by becoming someone she'll never have access to again. That's the kind of ending they don't teach you in movies. That's the plot twist. I won.